Well, I think that it's a pretty somber assessment of what's going on. And I think that the focus is on stability. In terms of activist economic policy, is limited in scope. It's limited to about 1 trillion RMB in central government corona bonds, and an increase of 1.6 trillion for local government special bonds. So it's 2.6 trillion. It's about 2.5% of GDP. It's quite modest by global standards in the current environment.
Mm. Oh, yes, indeed. And broadly speaking, I picked up two lines that really defined the policy expectations one should keep from China going into the foreseeable future. One is that monetary policy would be kept flexible, and they're going to look at cutting interest rates going forward. You talked about how they're looking at issuing treasury bonds as well as local bonds to pick up the slack on how much spending would be required to prop up the economy. And then on the fiscal side, they're talking about fiscal policy being more proactive, essentially highlighting that there could be tax cuts and fee burdens brought down in the future. So all in all, do you think that in that sense, it's been a wholesome plan where they're trying to balance monetary policy action with fiscal policy?
Well, I think in terms of tax incentive is an extension of what happened last year. So the report talked about the total benefit, but it's not new. It's just an extension of last year's program. I think that the government's priority right now is national security, both internal and external. So economic targets are not that important. And the financial stability is. So the government will use the financial system to stabilize the economy, in particular as the shadow banking system pulls back. The banking system has to pick up more, and so we're going to see a bit more expansion of the bank's balance sheet. But it's really for stability. China is not in an all-out push for economic growth like in 2008. It is the economic plan is very restrained, very modest.
Andy, speaking of national security, I mean, one of the biggest issues that hasn't been mentioned yet by Premier Li, but which is certainly, you could say, the biggest market mover this morning, is the fact that we understand the NPC is going to be taking up legislation to enhance national security in Hong Kong and thereby bypass LegCo, essentially. Take a look at what's happening in these Hong Kong markets. Straight out of the gate, the Hang Seng off some 3%. We've seen property names, banks really weighing to the downside. How significant is this proposal?
Oh, I think that the market is surprised because didn't expect the government to change how it governs Hong Kong. But the signal has been already around for quite a while. The central government is taking a more direct role in managing Hong Kong, and the downside for more intervention was instability in Hong Kong society. But Hong Kong society is already unstable. So from the Beijing's perspective, there's a very limited downside. So there will be more and more direct control.
Well, but what about the downside when it comes to the blowback from the United States? Already we've heard Trump warning on this. We've heard from some senators who want to do what they can to prevent this from happening. And it comes at a time where the relationship is already so fraught. So we're hearing from Premier Li in this speech moments ago saying that he wants to make sure they implement the Phase 1 trade deal, that they'll work with the U.S. to continue to do that. But how do you characterize the relationship right now?
Well, the government wants the Phase deal to succeed. Hopefully that would ease the relationship somewhat. But in terms of Hong Kong, I think the priority is to really to have it under control. And the central government sees a lot of downside because the Hong Kong could be used as a base for sabotaging Beijing. So the downside is very great. In terms of how the U.S. will respond, taking Hong Kong off as an independent customs territory, for China, the downside is really limited. If China wants to use Hong Kong to circumvent the technology embargo, it's not likely to succeed.